Welcome to Golden Stories, where drama unfolds with sharp edges and justice never stays silent. The Whitmore's mansion glittered under the night sky, a palace of glass and marble guarded like a fortress. At the front gate, a security guard was staging his own theater, swollen with arrogance. "Stop right there," he barked, seizing the arm of a tall black man in a tailored suit. His grip was firm, his voice louder than necessary. "Trespassing. You don't belong here." The man didn't flinch. He drew out an ID wallet, official, polished, undeniable. "Inspector David Kareem," he said evenly, his voice a blade of calm. Credentials gleamed in the floodlights, but the guard didn't even look. His smirk made the verdict clear. Your skin outweighs your badge. From the mansion's doorway, one of the Whitmore heirs rushed down the steps, alarmed by the noise. At a glance, they misread the scene, believing the guard was in danger. They advanced, ready to help restrain the inspector, pouring salt on an already festering wound. The inspector's jaw clenched, though his composure never cracked. To be invisible one moment and branded dangerous the next, this was humiliation dressed as protocol. Around the courtyard, staff lingered. Some whispered, some exchanged amused looks, others pretended not to notice at all. Their silence was a choice, one that stung sharper than the guard's grip. The inspector lifted his badge higher, the proof catching the light. But the truth was ignored, buried beneath prejudice. Every second stretched the injustice heavier, while the crowd stood complicit. Then, heels clicked against marble. Silence fell like a curtain. Lady Eleanor Whitmore herself descended the stairs, her figure cutting through the night like steel wrapped in silk. The guard straightened, puffed with triumph, and shoved the inspector forward. "Madam," he announced, almost giddy, "I caught him sneaking in." But Eleanor's eyes locked on the inspector. Her face shifted, first shock, then recognition, then something else entirely. Respect. The guard's confidence began to crack. Uh, the air froze mid-step, and the staff who had watched without a word suddenly looked very small in the glow of their mistress's gaze. The stage was set for a reckoning. Don't miss what's coming next. The shame Lady Eleanor's heels struck the stone path with deliberate precision, each step unraveling the guard's illusion of authority. The courtyard was silent, thick with the tension of eyes darting between the trembling inspector and the woman who owned everything within those iron gates. The guard, still clinging to arrogance, thrust the inspector forward like a captured thief. "I caught him sneaking in, madam," he declared, his chest swelling. But Eleanor's expression carved the air in two. She bypassed the guard completely, her eyes fixed on David Kareem. "Inspector Kareem," she said, her voice slicing through the night, "your presence here is an honor." The words detonated. The guard's smirk shattered, his grip collapsing. His lips parted, but no words escaped. Color drained from his face, leaving only the pale wash of shame. The heir who had rushed out earlier froze, their hands still half raised as if caught red-handed by fate itself. Staff at the windows stumbled back, the amusement gone from their eyes. Silence, once a shield, now felt like evidence against them. David adjusted his sleeve with measured calm. He didn't gloat, didn't smirk. He didn't need to. His silence was louder than their humiliation, his composure a mirror showing them who they really were. Eleanor turned her gaze, cold and cutting, on the guard. "Did you bother to look at his credentials?" The guard stammered. Madam, I thought—" "You thought wrong." Her tone carried the weight of final judgment. "And you turned your prejudice into spectacle." Her words swept over the crowd like fire. Heads dropped. Staff who had whispered minutes earlier suddenly looked guilty, their shame stitched across their faces. Eleanor's eyes narrowed, her voice lower but sharper. "This inspector should have been welcomed. Instead, you degraded him before my house, before my family, before witnesses." The inspector inclined his head slightly, offering nothing but a steady presence. Revenge was unfolding, not from his hands, but from hers. Eleanor's final command pierced the night. "Release him, and step aside." The guard obeyed, his body trembling as though the ground beneath him had shifted. He stood stripped of his arrogance, waiting for consequences he already knew were coming. And for the staff who had stood idle, their reckoning loomed just as near. Don't miss what's coming next. The courtyard held its breath. Eleanor Whitmore's gaze lingered on the guard as though peeling away the last scraps of his pride. He shifted under the weight of silence, his mouth opening, closing, useless. "Strip him of his post," Eleanor commanded, her voice crisp, cold, final. I will not have prejudice dressed in uniform at my gates. Two attendants stepped forward, seizing the guard by the arms. His protests sputtered, shallow and small, drowned out by the whispers rippling through the staff. The same guard who had barked like a king only minutes before was now reduced to a pale, trembling figure, dragged away under the glare of justice. Eleanor turned her attention to the others. And you, her words hung like knives in the night, stood by. You watched. Some of you even laughed. Every servant stiffened. The crowd that once hid behind silence now fidgeted, desperate to vanish. Eyes darted anywhere but the inspector. Their complicity had no shield left. Eleanor's tone dropped lower, more dangerous. Cowardice is as poisonous as cruelty. To stand by and allow a man to be degraded at my gates, you are no longer worthy of serving in this house. Gasp broke from the staff. A maid wept quietly. One footman tried to plead, but Eleanor's hand cut him off. Leave your uniforms by morning. The inspector remained still, his expression unreadable. Yet behind his composure, the weight of the moment swelled. He had endured humiliation without breaking, and now vengeance unfolded, not in chaos, but in order, through the very power of the house itself. The heir who had rushed forward earlier looked as if the earth might swallow them whole. Eleanor's gaze lingered on them too, sharp as a blade, and you, blood of my blood, you should know better than to misjudge so recklessly. Their face flushed scarlet, shame etching itself across their features. Eleanor's hand lifted slightly, beckoning the inspector forward. Her gesture was deliberate, public, undeniable. Stand beside me, Inspector Karim. And he did. The image was unmistakable. A man once accused and demeaned, now standing in honor at the lady of the house's side. The roles had reversed. Those who mocked him were dismantled one by one under her command. But Eleanor was not finished. Don't miss what's coming next. The courtyard that had once mocked now stood still, the weight of humiliation pressing down on every guilty face. Eleanor Whitmore's hand remained raised, steady, commanding. The inspector stood beside her, no longer a target, but a presence elevated before all. Let it be known, Eleanor declared, her voice carrying across marble, steel, and silence, that Inspector Karim is not only welcome here, he is my honored guest. Her words struck like thunder. The staff, who had smirked minutes ago, now trembled. Neighbors watching from beyond the gates shifted uncomfortably, whispers scattering like dry leaves. The heir lowered their head, cheeks still burning from shame. Eleanor stepped closer to David, her eyes unwavering. This house owes you respect, and respect will be shown. She extended her hand, elegant and deliberate. He took it, not with triumph, but with the composure of a man who had already won the moment the truth came to light. Applause did not come. It didn't need to. The silence was enough, heavy, crushing, and unforgettable. David turned his gaze toward the crowd. For a fleeting second, his eyes met those of the guard being dragged away. That pale, broken face carried the mark of disgrace, a reminder that arrogance built on prejudice collapses hardest. Eleanor's final command sliced the night. Those who degraded him, those who stood by and did nothing, will not see another dawn in my service. Justice begins at my gates. The dismissed staff staggered back in disbelief, their future dissolving before their eyes, and in their place, a new image was stamped into memory. Inspector Karim, standing at the heart of the Whitmore estate, dignified, respected, unshaken. The power had shifted. What began as humiliation ended as honor. And for those who witnessed it, the lesson was branded deep. Indifference is complicity, and prejudice always pays its debt. Eleanor raised her chin, her voice softer now but edged with iron. Tonight will not be forgotten. And it wouldn't. Not by those who lost, and not by those who finally saw. Welcome back to Golden Stories, where the truth always finds a stage. If this story gripped you, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next tale of pride, humiliation, and justice